Hey, what's up guys? Tougie here, back again, and to do my best Steve Dangle impression, the Bruins win 4-2 over the St. Louis Blues in Game 1 of the 2019 Stanley Cup Final, a play Gloria. Now, of course, when you have these two teams, I think the main thing to talk about here is not the goals, not the individual performances. No, what we have to talk about first and foremost is, of course, officiating, which has been the theme throughout the entire Stanley Cup playoffs, regardless of the series. And perhaps it's not a surprise when you have the St. Louis Blues, who a lot of people would consider the dirtiest team out of the West, especially if you ask San Jose Sharks fans, and the Boston Bruins, who a lot of people would consider the dirtiest team in the league outright. Now, just to break things down here, I'm going to go period by period with the penalties, right? First period, Sean Kuraly called for tripping Braden Shen. No question about it. David Perron called for tripping Danton Heinen. No question about it. Robert Thomas called for hooking Patrice Bergeron. Maybe a little bit weak. But then we get to the second period, and that's where things really get interesting, because Joel Edmondson's called for high-sticking David Backes, in which a lot of Blues fans think David Backes, and Joel Edmondson for that matter, thought that David Backes dove, which is laughable. Edmondson also gives Backes that little bit of an extra shove on the ice, which, you know, in fairness, I said on Twitter, if Brad Marchand had done that, you know, Twitter would have just imploded, which is true. And of course, Marchand has that history, but that's just kind of the point. It's a dirty rat move, was my initial point. And yeah, Edmondson's a nerd. That's all I have to say about that. We go on later in the second period. Oscar Sundqvist cross-checks Connor Clifton into the boards. That was a dive too, cry some idiots on Twitter, because, you know, a clear cross-check in the back isn't worth a 2-minute minor. And then the third period, the spicy meatballs just start coming. David Krejci goes to the box for a hit to the head on Sammy Blais, which was a weak call. I don't blame them for calling it, but Blais making a cut to the right foot goes out from underneath him. Krejci ends up hitting him in the head. It wouldn't have been a headshot otherwise. It ended up being a headshot due to no fault to Krejci's, but they called a penalty, and I'm fine with that. It's a split-second, spur-of-the-moment play. That happens. But on that ensuing power play for the Blues, you have Torrey Krug and David Perron getting into it in front, where Krug goes after him, Perron goes after him, Krug swipes him, Perron goes after him, drives him down. No penalties there. Perron was already upset because moments before that, Chara broke Perron's stick on a slash, which definitely should have been a penalty, and my God, that's the first call that's ever been missed in a playoff game ever. Somebody call the cops. But in response to the little scrum between Perron and Krug starts skating down the ice, now, if you ask Twitter, he is Olympic speed skating down the ice as quickly as he can, as if he just missed it's the last plane to Mars, and if he doesn't catch it, the earth explodes. Like he is just skating for his life down the ice. No, he's getting back into the play, notices an opportunity to hit, and absolutely levels David Perron. Hit of the century, clean hit. You disagree, this isn't the video for you, get out. And then of course, because it's Bruins and Blues, there's one more contentious play where Sammy Blais, literally, and I've had people argue, no, Blais didn't do this. Charlie Coyle's skating down the ice, Blais is to his left. They get tangled up. Blais literally puts his arm around Coyle's waist at one point, but apparently that's not interference, according to some people. Those people we like to call morons. It's a very clear call. The refs do call it. And boy, wouldn't you know it, the Bruins, the Bruins didn't even score on it, but that's okay. I guess all this to say, again, point being, throughout the entire postseason, even in the AHL, there have been points of contention. Marlies and checkers. The puck hits the netting. Toronto does get the puck back. They clear it, but then turn it over, and the checkers go down to score and punch their ticket to the Calder Cup final. Throughout the entire postseason, the officiating has been consistently inconsistent. That has not changed. If you are dumb enough to think, my team's getting exclusively screwed here, I'm sorry, that's not true. Maybe in an individual game, but on the grand scheme of things, absolutely not. Whether it be poor calls, replays that aren't, plays that aren't reviewable, still getting things wrong after the replay. We've had contentious points, controversy with goaltenders in these playoffs, whether it be Ben Bishop getting hit in the back, Ben Bishop ending up on the ice, apparently hurt, but they don't blow the whistle. In this game, Jordan Binnington loses his stick and blocker because he's busy poking at someone behind the back of the net. The bottom line is, I genuinely feel for people who can't come to terms with the fact that the officiating is what it is. You just let it go. Let it go. I know, hey, it's going to suck if the Bruins lose. I don't think they're going to. But if they do, I'm not going to sit here and be like, officiating, the Bruins got screwed, there was a conspiracy. Stop. Save yourself time. Save yourself frustration. Come to terms with the fact that the NHL is still just a little bit of a clown show when it comes to certain aspects of their game, and this is one of them. Let it go. You'll live a lot better life. And take that from me, I'm living my best life. The Bruins are up 1-0. Now that all the officiating talk is out of the way, it's in the rear view mirror, let's move on to actually talking about the game, shall we? Which was fairly interesting, whether or not you were a neutral, a Blues fan, or a Bruins fan. The Blues did have the lead in the first period. They scored the opening goal. Vladimir Tarasenko outraces Zdeno Chara to beat out an icing call. You have a couple of chances where the Bruins could have cleared. Jay Bouwmeester keeps the puck in. Braden Shen ends up getting it in the slot, burying it top shelf past Rask. However, it's not as if the Bruins were outplayed. They had some tremendous chances. David Pastrnak nearly tucked it in on a breakaway. Marcus Johansson hit the post at one point. Marchand whiffed on a one-timer, which, speaking about Brad Marchand quickly, he does end up scoring the empty net goal that sealed this game, but there was a little bit of concern about him with a potential wrist injury heading into this game. And there were a couple of moments in this game where, you could buy that he is not 100%, which I suppose is to be expected. You're in the Stanley Cup final. Nobody's at 100%. But if the Bruins are dealing with the wrist injury to Brad Marchand, obviously that severely diminishes their chances of being successful. I wouldn't say he was an outright liability, but there were a couple of plays where you're like, man, maybe he is hurt, because if he's at 100% or close to it, he absolutely buries those chances. Moving on to the second period, and the Blues get off to a hot start. Unfortunately, David Pastrnak, the GOAT on this play, as off a face-off in the neutral zone, Blues side of the ice, it ends up going back to the Bruins zone. Pasta retrieves, and for some reason, when going around the back of his net, he just drops it off to nobody. I believe, actually, to Jaden Schwartz, who ends up finding Vladimir Tarasenko in front. And just like that, the Blues are up 2-0. Pasta has consistently had issues throughout these playoffs with just mishandling the puck. Not sure what's going on, what it is. Is he hurt? Is it, the pressure of the situation getting to him? Not sure. It would have been a fairly brutal situation had the Bruins lost this game, because he would have, and still kind of is, but he absolutely would have been torn apart in the media and would have been blamed for this loss. Thankfully, though, as we all know, the Bruins do come back, and that comeback starts here. 1 minute and 16 seconds later, Sean Kuraly driving into the zone, cuts back at the circle, and finds a pinching Connor Clifton at the back post. He's able to tap it home. 2-1 Blues. Here's what I want to mention, because I talked about this in my Rambling Series preview. Sean Kuraly. Who's that at the beginning of the season? Sean Kuraly is one of the most complete three-zone players in the league. And Connor Clifton, who did not start this series, or this season, I should say, as a Bruin, has turned into a complete defenseman. Now, I'm not saying he's a top 2 defenseman. I'm still going to take Alex Pietrangelo over Connor Clifton. But what Clifton provides in terms of defensive stability, his zone exits, his willingness to pinch and join the rush, it pays off here. He had an absolutely tremendous game, and it's also not the last time we're going to mention Sean Kuraly. Later on in the second period, dying seconds of an abysmal Bruins power play. They had 5 in this game to St. Louis's 2, and this was by far the Bruins' worst effort on the night, but it does result in a goal. Charlie McAvoy steps over the blue line, takes a shot that deflects off the defender's stick. Think it was Jay Bouwmeester, might have been Pietrangelo, don't really feel like watching it back, but it does beat Binnington to tie the game. And as if the momentum swing wasn't in full effect, the Bruins ended up out shooting the Blues 18-3 in the second period, and this goal was the backbreaker that set the stage for a very interesting and contentious third period, of course, with some of the penalty calls that we talked about, and the Torrey Krug hit. And heading into the third period, it was clear The Bruins needed to get this next goal. If you let the Blues score, if you were to lose this game, it would be such a massive wasted effort. Again, absolutely dominant, more than doubling the Blues up in shots, killing them in slot shots, chances on the rush. Absolute dominance from the Bruins, and they do end up getting the goal. It is Noel Acciari finding Sean Corrali in front. Said we weren't done mentioning him again. Two of the other guys viewed as the no-names on the Bruins' bottom six, but they pay off in a big-time way. Brad Marchand gets an empty net goal in the final 2 minutes, and again, the Bruins take Game 1 by the score of 4-2. Now, for the Blues, I don't have much for you. It obviously wasn't a strong performance by any stretch of the imagination. They had some chances on Tougie in the second and third period, but not a whole hell of a lot that was high quality. They played a physical game, but it simply didn't translate. And throughout the game, the narrative slowly changed from the Blues shutting down their blue line, preventing Bruins zone entries, and generally controlling the game, to the Bruins, getting that forecheck going and simply changing the story of the game, as I mentioned. So for St. Louis, call it bias if you want. I don't really have a whole hell of a lot to say. Now for the Bruins, we do have quite a bit to talk about. Tuukka Rask, another strong performance. Yes, he gave up 2 goals, neither of which were his fault. It would have been, potential save of the year candidates if you're able to pull off a save on those chances with how high percentage that they were. So Tuukka gets the job done. Defensively, Brandon Carlo, still one of the best shutdown defensemen in the league, and he did it again here tonight. I think back to the third period where the Bruins went with a wholesale change. Carlo hustles back to cut out essentially a 2-on-0. Tremendous from him. Zdeno Chara, outside of being outraced by Vladimir Tarasenko for the Blues' first goal, he had a strong game. He also took a puck to the arm, which, by the way, why do we not have more protection for players? I don't understand it. Again, the lack of padding between the elbow and the glove. Chara gets hit right about here, draws blood. Apparently he's fine, nothing's broken. But between that, and then you look at someone like Ryan O'Reilly who doesn't even wear a face mask. I don't get it. I do not get it. Why players don't protect themselves more, whether it be, with the extra forearm guards, not even just a visor, the full visor. I get why they don't, obviously, but it feels like we're waiting for that day that there's an outright tragedy on the ice before something changes. And obviously, someone getting hit in the arm isn't going to lead to a tragedy, but you get the point. Torrey Krug, not exactly St. Louis's favorite player right now, but very, very scrappy. Very scrappy game, especially he and David Perron. I don't think they'll be exchanging Christmas cards anytime soon. And the big hits, call it what you will. Of course, I'm a Bruins fan, and I think it was a clean hit and wasn't charging. So, I'm not going to be able to change your opinion on that. Matt Grzelcyk, for some reason, was able to get under every Blues player's skin, especially Oscar Sundqvist, getting him to take that cross-checking penalty earlier in the game. Charlie McAvoy with the goal, great effort from him. And then again, I cannot sing Connor Clifton's praises enough. That is the type of player that steps up, makes the team, and wins, I hope. And you say, who the hell is this guy? Where did he come from? As if Matt Grzelcyk isn't already that. Jumping to the forward core, though. I don't know if you can name a player of the game. Can you name an entire line as the players of the game? Charlie Coyle, Danton Heinen, and Marcus Johansson. No points between the three of them, but they were by far the best line for the Bruins in this game. Marcus Johansson is a wizard with the puck. You can see why Ovechkin was so sad to see him go in Washington. An absolute steal at the deadline for the Bruins. A lot of people, myself included, were like, maybe they gave up too much. There's the history with Marchand and, subsequent injury trouble because of that. But Marcus Johansson is just a machine out there. His vision is on a whole nother level. And again, what Charlie Coyle brings to the lineup, Danton Heinen, while at the moment he's not exactly that guy, in the top 6 alongside David Krejci that people thought could, put up 20, 30 goals a season, but he fits in so well on that line. Marchand, Bergeron, and Pasternak, obviously solid. Pasta, though, with the one turnover, we don't really have to talk about that. And again, the fourth line, Nordstrom, Corrali and Achari. Both teams started their fourth lines tonight, which was pretty fun, but no doubt about it, the Bruins' fourth line got the better of them. I love Corrali and Joachim Nordstrom. When the Bruins signed him, I'm like, oh, cool. He was a Hurricane, and that's it. But, boy, if he hasn't won me over. I mean, I thought for sure, heading into the playoffs, you'd have someone like Kuhlman in the lineup over him. You know, I figured he was the most easily replaceable guy in the lineup. But Nordstrom has been a tremendous addition overall. I could sit here and rant and ramble about this game all night. It was one hell of a start to this series. Lord knows this series is far from over. The physicality will continue to ramp up. Let's just hope no one gets seriously hurt as a result. And at the very least tonight we learned that Joel Edmondson is an absolute nerd for targeting David Backes, a player whose caliber he wishes he could match, but he'll never be able to do so. And for that reason, I hope that David Backes gets to raise the Stanley Cup in the face of Joel Edmondson. But I want to know from you guys, what'd you think of the game? Is there anything that I forgot to mention, certain plays that I didn't talk about or whatever else? Admittedly, somewhat rushing through this video because I got a Twitch stream to do that people are waiting for. But I wanted to make sure I got this video done, the instant reaction, and somewhat concise thoughts. But let me know down in the comments below what you thought of the game, how you see this series going from here, what was your original prediction, all that fun stuff. Make sure to drop a like on the video as well if you care about me at all, because it's apparently the most important thing you can do for a YouTuber now. Shout out to YouTube. I just consider myself a YouTuber, but you know, it doesn't feel right. Anyway, thank you. I love you. Go Bruins, and I'll see you guys after game 2, where hopefully I'm in just as good of a mood.